despite a directive from the Senate leadership asking to make West. Watching news. You're still watching Newsday here on the Arise News channel. Let's now cross live to the National Assembly, where Senator Natasha Makes is expected to make her way in, despite a directive from the Senate leadership asking her to stay away. Her insistence on resuming has stirred tension. Now, what we are looking at is Senator Natasha trying to gain access, as we can see, into the National Assembly. Of course, we know over the last couple of weeks there's been a lot of tension as to whether or not the court ruling on the case was binding as to her recall to the Senate. And we know that it has been established that in as much as the judge did say that her suspension was excessive, it was giving as an obiter dictum to say it was merely advisory and it was not binding on the Senate to implement that recall. Of course, we know that also came with the additional case with regards to contempt of the court orders when it spoke about Senator Natasha not speaking about this issue publicly, which again, she was supposed to apologize for and offer a 5 million naira fine. Now, so far, we know that the Senate has been very clear on this, and they've asked her not to return unless she apologizes to the Senate.
Exactly, and for those that might not be too familiar for the background of this case, it all started about 6 months ago in March of 2025, following allegations of sexual harassment made by Senator Natasha Makes. She made those allegations against the Senate President Godswill Akpabio, and the suspension came after a heated exchange with Akpabio over seating arrangements in the chamber. We also recall that she was accused of making defamatory remarks in March 27 this year during a phone conversation allegedly between, and that claim that Akpabio was connected to some organ harvesting involving the late Inubong Omore.
I mean, if you can listen to what's going on right now, clearly there is a dispute about letting her in. On one hand, someone believes that she's duly elected and should be allowed in to the National Assembly, but clearly she is not being allowed in. We recall the Senate spokesperson Yemi Adara Modu reiterated that there is no binding order mandating Senator Natasha's return and that she must respect the full 6-month suspension. Well, clearly Senator Natasha believes that she owes it as a duty to her people to return to the Senate. There seems to be a very, very clear miscommunication between both sides of this issue, Cynthia.
Indeed. On one hand, Federal High Court issued a judgment ordering her recall, with her legal team arguing the suspension was unconstitutional, excessive. And then the National Assembly rejects her reinstatement request, like you rightly pointed out, Kachi, insisting the July 4th court judgment did not contain a binding order mandating her recall. And despite the National Assembly's position, Senator Makes formally notified the clerk of her intention to resume legislative duties on July 22nd, 2025, which is today, and she's obviously trying to see this through. But it's clearly met with some barriers, more physical than we can see. And well, I guess we'll just have to watch how this plays out. Yeah. Hopefully things don't escalate. But
I mean, naturally, things should not escalate. This is a very clear situation, The court did find her guilty of contempt, imposing that $5 million fine, plus orders to publish apologies, conditions that, according to the Senate, remains unmet. You know, the Senate maintains that without this payment and apology in the media, she cannot be reinstated early. Let's also understand that the Senate has also appealed the court decision, and Senator Natasha is seeking a stay of execution, meaning that the legal process is still ongoing, it's still pending. And without a final resolution, you know, the Senate just expects her to wait for the appeal outcomes before resuming. Now, a lot of public sentiments have said the exact same thing: apologize and resume. But clearly, this fight will not be won by bravado or by forcefully enforcing one's right. You know, it's not going to work that way. We saw the almost scuttle that happened just right now, where one person said, "Don't touch me, don't touch me." You know, she's duly elected. You know, I didn't touch. You know, it's getting tense, and it doesn't need to get to this very point in time. So I think what we're seeing right now is a clear case when there is deep sentimental issues pertaining to matters of legislative processing, as we're looking at right now, where Senator Natasha feels like, we have our correspondent who I'm sure will be joining us on this conversation. Senator Natasha's case started from a sexual harassment claim, which of course she feels has not been addressed, has not been looked into, has not in any way been giving any form of attention. She is trying to enforce her right by getting back into the Senate. However, Nigerians do feel that she should apologize and move on, while some feel, what is she apologizing for?
Whatever the case, I think at this point, what we need to see is some level of compromise, maybe from both sides.
Oh, we're not going to see any level of compromise.
But that would be maybe the appropriate gesture or ideal. I don't know, but you know, one extreme to the other.
So it's two wrongs do not make it right.
Two wrongs don't make it right. But at the end of the day, maybe we need to look at the bigger picture. The people that Natasha represents, or Senator Natasha represents,
yes.
that might be what we need to focus on to see things move forward, as opposed to the individuals in question. What is the greater good? What would be the what would be the right gesture that would move the country forward? But of course, we'll just watch things unfold, because we are spectators in this matter and don't necessarily have any dog in this fight. But
Well, I think at the end of the day, one thing that, if at all we are going to follow anything, it will definitely be that ruling from the High Court, which we have to agree. I'm sure every legal luminary and every Nigerian would agree that it was merely advisory. It was not mandatory. The judge giving her opinion, saying that this suspension is excessive, but did not say, in fact, that she must be recalled in her judgment. But we do have Omo Bazuaye, Rice correspondent in Abuja, live at the National Assembly now, and he will give us more information as to what exactly is going on. Omo Bazuaye, how do you do? I see Natasha has come out of her car. Clearly, she was not allowed to drive in. Tell us what's going on right now.
If you're watching the video, we have Senator Natasha Makes. She just stepped down from her vehicle that was initially stopped by security operatives right in front of the National Assembly. And now she's taking a long walk all the way from the first main gate of the National Assembly, and she's going down the road towards the National Assembly complex. She has said she was going to make it here today. She had told the National Assembly that she will come here today, whatever happens. And true to her words, we have seen her. She has come. We've been waiting since almost 7 o'clock in the morning. We've waited for more than 4 hours. Now she is here, and she's taking a long trek along the road that leads you straight to the second gate. She had already beaten the first gate, and a convoy was stopped. Then she stepped down from the convoy, and now she's making this move. I don't know. I'll give it a try to see whether she will say something to me. This is Arise. What do you have to say?
First, I'm just glad to be alive, and I'm glad to resume today. And that's all I'll say for now, until we get there.
Well, she says that's all she's going to say for now, and we are taking the walk with her. She's coming.
Mabazwa, tell us about
here.
the women flanked around Natasha. Let's talk about the women beside her. I know she is flanked by some serious activists. Do you want to just ask them a few questions as to why they decided to come with her
I can barely
today?
hear from the noise in the background what you have asked, but I know for sure that today, what's really at stake, most people have said, is that today might be the last day that the Senate will be sitting for this particular legislative session, and that they may embark on their annual recess. And so she has, according to her lawyers, she has a court judgment she wants to effect before that happens. And part of why it's so much important for her to be here today.
Just take some steps back. Our senator be this, so we don't get another one. Our senator be this, so.
It has the full support of those that are accompanying her as she attempts to go into the National Assembly. And like she rightly said, she's glad to be alive, and that's all she's saying for now until she arrives there. And I'm hopeful that this will just be a very smooth walk and entrance as well.
That's Aisha Yusufu with her. And the second lady, she is quite prominent on Twitter and Instagram as an activist as well. Popular for her red scarf. I believe they call her the Edo Princess, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, and I would just like to talk about the two women with her. These are women that every time they sense any form of injustice online, they're like the female very dark man, if I'm to put it that way.
Well, I mean...
no, if we're being honest, you know, that's exactly the representation that these women have. Very open, very outspoken. They stand for what they believe in, irrespective of what anybody thinks about it. So Senator Natasha Makes coming into the National Assembly today with, you know, Aisha Yusufu and the woman fondly nicknamed the Edo Princess. I can only imagine what will happen when she gets to the door. I'm hoping that it does not escalate.
I think at this point, just capturing those important women that you mentioned, Aisha Yusufu and the other popular lady, I think it's a show of support for Natasha, and it's from the picture of it, of what it exudes is women supporting women. And it might be quite historic to a large extent, depending on how things play out. But the point is, this time around, of course, we used to see it when things were initially unfolding, that she was accompanied by her husband who showed support. But now to see women that are walking with her with such great repute, it's quite symbolic that she's not alone in this fight for what she believes in. And we'll obviously see how that continues to play out. But this is quite the walk, isn't it, Kachi?
No, it is, and I think it's interesting to just see this moment happening, you know, because, again, you ask yourself, you know, is this completely necessary, you know, having to walk all the way in? Obviously, they wouldn't physically stop her by putting hands on her to say she cannot walk in, you know, physically stop her, but obviously physically stopped her car and her envoy. Well, we'll keep you updated on this story. We are going to take a short break at the moment, and we will be back with an update on this situation right after the break.
Fidelity Gets Alerts in Millions promo is back and better. This time around, we're giving out a whopping 159 million naira. 10 customers stand a chance to win 1 million naira in the monthly draw. That's not all. You can also win 2 million naira, 5 million naira, and 10 million in the grand draw. To qualify, open any Fidelity savings account with 5K or fund your existing Fidelity accounts with multiples of 5K to get more tickets in the draw. Then sign up to either our mobile app, *770#, or get any of our Fidelity debit cards. Remember, the more 5K you save and transact, the more tickets you get into the draw. This promo is open to new and existing customers and runs from now till August 20, 2024. 5.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Welcome back to Newsday. Thank you for staying with us. A former senior special assistant to the late President Muhammadu Buhari on National Assembly matters, that's Senator Babajide Omoworare, says the All Progressives Congress, APC, is the only party with formidable structure that can win any governorship election in Osun State. The senator stated that he has the wherewithal to turn around what he calls the stagnation of development in the state, noting that he'll not hesitate to support any candidate that eventually emerges as the party's flag bearer in the contest. He also stated this in Osogbo, where he led his supporters and loyalists in a rally and later moved to APC State Secretariat to notify the party leadership in the state of his governorship ambition.
I'm here to notify the party that I intend to be the governor of Osun State under the banner of our great party APC. I want to be the governor of Osun State because there is need for an Osun renaissance. Nobody can beat APC in Osun State. Nobody can beat APC in Osun State. We lost the last election because we had challenges with managing the election, and I won't go into details because strategically I was not going into details. We had issues with the management of the election. PDP did not win the last election. APC lost the election. In Osun State,
And we are back in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, where we now see Senator Natasha Makes at the entrance, the gate of the building, in fact, and there is clearly another blockade. She is unable to gain access into the premises. It's quite the chaotic scene there, as you can see. But this, if you're just joining the Newsday on the Arise News channel, Senator Natasha Makes did say she will return to the Senate on the 22nd of July, Tuesday the 22nd of July, which is today, and she did make her way in her convoy to the National Assembly gate, but she was met with a blockade by the police at the National Assembly, and her car was unable to gain access to the building. And then she had to walk into the National Assembly premises, trying to gain access to the main building. Unfortunately, as you can see, she's now been stopped right at the entrance of the building. This was about a 3-minute walk that she had to make to gain access to the building, but clearly that is not happening. This comes after the High Court ruled that Senator Natasha Makes' suspension was excessive and advised on her recall, but did not mandate the Senate to recall her. Also highlighting that she did, there was a contempt of court orders, and Senator Natasha Makes had to apologize to the court for this and pay a fine of 5 million naira. The Senate now says that she has done neither, and as a result of the fact that the case is still pending, as a result of the stay of
Excuse me, I'm having a conversation with you. Gentlemen, you are a staff of the National Assembly. You are the security. Okay, so may I know why a staff of the National Assembly will stop a serving senator from walking into the chambers to commence her functions in representing her people who have duly given her the mandate as elected and as sworn in through a duly issued certificate of return by INEC to carry out her constituted function. So may I know why a security from the National Assembly will stop a serving senator from walking in? And can I see written authority of your mandate to stand here right before me?
We can't hear you, sir.
A written authority.
Answer her now.
Not going to say anything. We are here. He knows we are not giving authority to allow her to come into the complex. That is our place.
No, hold on, because
please.
We want to know who you are and why you are here. We want to see your... On whose instruction are you here, sir?
it's okay. I've asked him the questions. I believe I deserve an answer.
You don't have an answer?
Where is the gentleman who stopped us first?
He's coming.
You have no answer?
You have no answer?
I don't know. Why is it? Are you not? Are you?
Why is everybody coming and going? If you
Why
do not
can you
have
not
an
talk
order,
loud?
can you allow the senator pass and resume her duties? What is going on? Why is the whole place
Why is everybody
militarized?
talking like deaf and dumb? People cannot speak loud. He does not have an order. He does not have an answer.
Please, can we pass, gentlemen? Please.
Please, no, we are not. No, don't push me. Nobody should push.
We are pushing you.
We are not pushing.
Nobody is pushing you.
No, you are blocking our senator now. It's not about who is
Why are
pushing
you
you.
here, sir? Why are you
Why are you
here?
here?
On whose instruction are you here?
Why are you here? Somebody should say something.
What exactly is going on?
50 million to release my cousin. Then you people are here saying.
Look at police. Yesterday, police were protesting on behalf of police. And today, you are here again doing an illegitimate job. You cannot be serving the whims and caprices of one man. Senator Akpabio is not the constituted authority. A senator wants to resume her duties, constitutional duties. What exactly are you people doing here? You say you are not under instruction. Can you leave so that she can pass? In a National Assembly of 109 senators, we have just 4 women. One of them is the one going through this persecution.
Akpabio, whose election
Gentlemen,
was marked with fraud?
can you just your leg?
The person that read the
Gentlemen, you're standing here. You're stopping someone from going in.
So what is it still doing here?
You call yourself Nigerians.
You can see their faces.
There is shame on your faces because you know indeed that you're doing the wrong thing. But you stand here and you say they gave you orders. Even if they give you orders as slaves, you should not behave like slaves. How do you, sir, stand here and then you go back home and meet your children and say to them that indeed they are citizens when you yourself have not shown that you're a citizen? You stand here. You're blocking a senator, a serving senator, who is on her way in. The person who will make laws for your child to matter the way the child of Akpabio matters. But you're standing here and you're blocking because you have this that says Sergeant at Arms. You are behaving in a very unconstitutional manner because the National Assembly is supposed to be for everybody. And you know that. So you have said that here. You are not saying anything. Your people have come and left. You are not saying anything. You are afraid to speak. You stand here, you say you are a citizen, and you block the people who want to go in. Sir, look into your life and ask yourself, at this age, is this what you want to do? At this age, is this what you want to be? At this age, is this the Nigeria you want to see? Is this why you go home every day and say to your children that indeed you are building a Nigeria? You are destroying Nigeria. You are destroying the future of your children. And one day you'll be on the streets, you know, as a retired person, begging the state, begging people to come out to protest for you. Yesterday, we had the Nigerian police, the shameless Nigerian police that is always a winning tool of oppression. Yesterday, citizens were protesting on their behalf, and as shameless as ever, they came out to stop them. And you stand here, you're proud of yourself, you're stopping, and you're afraid to even say who is it that sent you. We respect the law. Does not mean that we are cowards. We aren't cowards. We are here to do the right thing. A senator, a serving senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is here on her way in, and you are stopping her. You stand there bold-faced, holding hands. Oh, guy, if not fight, you know if you fight all of us with it here. It is about respecting the law. You haven't known how to do it. We want to go in there, sir. Can you please let us go in? This is the National Assembly. And if you can't work with, can you have the guts? Can you have the liver? I be man, not be by mouth. have the liver to say, who asked you to stop us here? It's not just to stand and move away. 2 people have come here. They say they are security, and they have left. Okay, why are you stopping us? Mister, why are you stopping us? Alpha, why are you stopping us?
I know you. Who are you? I know you. I will set you. Who are you?
Look at everybody peeping like slaves. Because one man wants to be constitutional authority. The National Assembly was in existence before Akpabio. It cannot sustain. It's Akpabio, the law of Nigeria. Shame on you, bunch of invalids. The service of that matter. 108 non-distinguished people.
Senator, on what authority are you doing that? The court has ruled. On what authority?
Simple question. Who sent you?
Who sent you? You read your enter the National Assembly and you don't want the elected.
Shame on you people. Simple question can answer. Are we? What kind of country are we like this? Everybody do not anything they want. What kind of country is this? Yesterday she went there in the National Assembly. She was now elected. She's her right to be here. She's her right. She needs to enter inside there. It's her right.
Why are you stopping
it's her right. She needs to enter there. The services for that matter.
Why are you stopping the service?
Why are you stopping her?
You all should be ashamed of yourselves.
You want to know?
You all should be ashamed of yourselves. You close the doors. You make yourself prisoners in a house that is meant for the people. And the police, you come. You want to kill us every day. We are going through so much in this country. Mothers are burying their children. And the funerals that we have, that are going to go in there and work. And you dare to stand and you kill us. That's what terrorists do every day. When they send you to kill us, tell them that we are dying every day. Your children decide what is
Nobody can speak again. Nobody can speak again. Nobody can speak. Nobody. Everybody keep quiet.
We are not abiding does not mean that we are cowards. We are not abiding does not mean that we are cowards. And there is none of you here that can take any of us. But we are not abiding does not mean we are cowards.
Former Senate minority leader, former commissioner, former NDDC leader.
When they shoot us, terrorists will kill us. It's the one that said you to stop. And you come out to stop them. The one that will stop for you. Yes. Where are your children? Where are your children in?
The suspension was in.
And our children are abroad. Where are your children?
A married woman, your head says she's wearing transparent clothes. How can you sexually harass a woman publicly? You said do not talk like this because you are not in a nightclub. And you has no ethical ground to be president. Before the committee went, he said
short braid. She's always tying red.
elected like himself. Shame on him. Who gives him that right?
You are doing
Let the
well.
world know that women's rights in Nigeria are under attack.
Are you with them?
Women's rights in Nigeria are under attack. We have only 4 female senators. One of them is being persecuted, suspended for 6 months. And on behalf of the Senate, illegality gives right to
Nigeria.
shame on every opposition politician and lawmaker inside that chamber. Bunch of non-distinguished nonsense.
Yes. What try for that? Okay, read the phone.
They do on you.
There's a hand. Look at this.
We're still watching live pictures from the entrance of the National Assembly. We could see clearly from about 10 minutes ago up until now, Senator Natasha Makes attempting to get back into the National Assembly to resume her duty. She faced barriers, human barriers, and now she's facing a physical barrier in form of a gate. She was shown huge support by the likes of Aisha Yesufu, who is an activist. And in spite of Aisha's passionate speech and appeal to the surgeons who were present, physically hindering Senator Natasha from entering, they fell on deaf ears, and now she's met with a gate. And one thing that's important to note is that these security personnel have refused to disclose under whose instructions they're acting on. Right now, we're still seeing those in support of Senator Natasha Makes resuming her duties in a confrontation with those that are manning the gate. And in case you're wondering, or you might not be familiar with how things started, you recall that in March of 2025, about 6 months ago, the senator in question, that Senator Natasha Makes, was suspended following allegations of sexual harassment she made against Senate President Godswill Akpabio. The suspension stemmed from a heated exchange over seating arrangements that escalated into serious accusations. She was also accused of making defamatory remarks linking Akpabio to organ harvesting allegations, and her suspension effectively left Kogi Central constituents without senatorial representation for months. Now, with this resistance, there are a lot of questions that might be posed. And Kachi, I'm sure you might also have some, light to shed on this. First of all, as if we take off our hats, okay, we'll come back to that thought. But for now, our correspondent is trying to give the mic to, or have the senator speak to us, and other members of the press. Let's listen in.
Senator.
Yeah, no, just put yourself together before I speak, but I just want to make a call. Bemi? Just put yourself together. Yeah, no, I'll face here. Well, yeah, but I want to make a call. I need to make a call first. I want to speak to my husband first.
Channels.
Let it reflect inside. Bemi, is he on the line?
Channels.
We'll address the press shortly. Disclosed that she'd like to speak with her husband first, who has shown support for her from the start of this situation. And now that judiciary has been denied, there are lots of questions or scenarios that could be raised. It creates a constitutional crisis with competing claims of authority. It could also raise questions about contempt of court and rule of law. It could trigger broader institutional confrontation between branches, and it could also demonstrate legislative defiance of judicial oversight. And I think that last point is very crucial, Bachi.
I think it's important in as much as just this entire site is not very it's not a very good site. It isn't, but we do need to face the fact here, and the fact is that in as much as the people of Kogi Central do deserve representation, this is still an ongoing case in the High Court with regard to the case being moved forward to the appeals right now, and that's where it stands. The judge did not mandate the Senate to recall Senator Natasha. Absolutely. And as much as that may not be the most favorable thing to hear, it's important that we all understand what the law says about this. The judge said it in passing as a part of her judgment. This is excessive. 6 months without representation is not the best way forward. And that was an obiter. So Senator Natasha waking up this morning and going to the National Assembly, I think, first of all, this could have gone many ways. We're just, we're reeling off the effects of the NSAS protest and the effect of what that did. That day where it was clearly stated, there was everyone had to stay put. But of course, we have to, obviously, there are lots of people who felt the need to still come out in their numbers and insist that certain things be fought for. And we all saw how this situation played out when there was confrontation between both sides, and it just ended horribly. This could have ended in many ways, aside from being peaceful. We saw the moment where it seemed as though officials from the National Assembly were almost ready to push her back. If she didn't come with people to defend her, she would have been pushed. And then it becomes another issue of assault, physically assaulting. Okay, I believe she's about to speak. Yes, let's listen to what she has to say.
How far more can you go on this?
In simple terms, it's not about beating the first and second gates and barricade. It's about me and a duly elected senator walking into the chambers to resume my constituted duties as I was elected and mandated by the good people of Kogi Central and SAENATE. And it's unfortunate that we got in today, which is the 22nd of July, 2025, having duly notified the Senate through 2 letters that I would be resuming functions today. As a matter of fact, I'm disappointed on 2 grounds. One is the number of armed policemen that we met outside, all well kitted with guns, charged at a female senator who is unarmed with her people here, patriotic Nigerians. And the second thing is the fact that the Senate, under the leadership of Godswill Akpabio, have decided to become lawbreakers, and by denying me entrance into the chambers to resume my duty. There's been some conversations in the media by his own team, trying to twist the narrative that the judge did not order my reinstatement. And I'd like to clarify that. You see, pursuant to Section 318 of the 1999 Constitution, it is very clear that decisions of a court comes in 5 ways. It could be a judicial decree, it could be a sentence, it could be an order, it could be a conviction, and it could be a recommendation. So an order is just one of the 5 decisions that a judge can pronounce over any case, and mine tilts towards a recommendation. Now, you would think that a recommendation is a voluntary. That means the Senate has either they comply or they have the right not to comply. But I'd like to clarify that. Again, if you go further to the to Section 287, subsection 3 of the 1999 Constitution, again, it actually specifies in clear terms that decisions, that's any of these 5 decisions of any of the possible on and every authority. So what that means in simple terms, whether they mention that the Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court made an order or made a sentence or made a judicial decree or a recommendation, whatever, however they want to interpret the literal words, interpretation of the words, it is still a decision of a court and it is still binding on the National Assembly. The second issue that I have seen withering around the media is that the Senate appealed the judgment. And I mentioned it, I'm saying it clearly. Hamza, can you please give me, where's Hamza? Let me have that page, please. Let me have the appeal. Let me show them the appeal. Now, this is the appeal that was initiated last week against Justice Binta Nyako's judgment. It is clear that it is not the National Assembly, neither it is the Senate. It's Akpabio himself. Read it. The president of the Senate, he is the only appellant. The National Assembly has not appealed that judgment. The Senate has not appealed the judgment. The Committee on Ethics has not, that suspended me wrongly, has not appealed the judgment. As a matter of fact, Senator Akpabio joined the clerk of the National Assembly, the entire Senate, and the chairman Committee on Ethics as joint respondents to the case. That means Akpabio has taken the National Assembly and the Senate and the clerk and the committee to court as well. Do you understand? That must be clarified. So there is no reason whatsoever, contrary to the publications I read yesterday, that I should not resume today because the Senate has appealed my suspension. The Senate did not. No, what I appealed, there's the contempt, and that is separate. The judgment came in two parts. One was to address the contempt, which is based on the satirical letter which I made, or the satirical apology letter which I made on Facebook, which the judge thought it wise in her own stride that that amounts to contempt. But I'm saying clearly that that does not amount to contempt of her courts, because before Justice Binta Nyako was not the matter of sexual harassment, but the matter of suspension. And what I will say clearly, hold on, what I will say clearly here is me appealing the contempt does not in any way invalidate the decision of the court that mentions me resuming. And I'll say this again, in as much as the judgment, Justice Binta Nyako's judgment was the most watery of all the suspension judgments we've had, taking into consideration Senator Aline Dume's and Senator Omar Gege's suspension. But there is one particular portion of her decision which I want us to hinge upon, where she mentioned that my suspension is actually excessive and that me being suspended for 6 months actually will prevent my ability to carry out my constitutional functions as stipulated in Section 63 of the 1990 Constitution. Now, what does Section 63 of the 1999 Constitution means? That every senator in this and every parliamentarian is to attend a sitting not less than 181 days per year to carry out my constituted functions. And what are the constitutional functions of a senator? One, legislative, which I'll do in there. Second is oversight of the executive. And third is representative of my people. So that means what Justice Binta Nyako told the National Assembly is that not only is my judgment excessive, but it will also deprive me of carrying out my constituted of which I was elected according to the Nigerian Constitution. That is Section 63. So that means my suspension is illegal. If you look at that, because anything that contravenes the Nigerian Constitution is illegal. And the National Assembly cannot be greater than the Constitution. They're now coming down again based on the appeal. Akpabio himself cannot be greater than the courts, cannot be greater than the Constitution. And I want Nigerians to know that the office of the Senate President, Akpabio himself, does not give me my legitimacy as a senator. The fact that he has gone on appeal himself does not invalidate the decision of Justice Binta Nyako and does not stop me from being a senator. I got my legitimacy as a senator today from the people of Kogi Central who voted me at the February 2023 election. So, me being the, well,
in their mind,
the most important thing is I am proving to the good people of Kogi Central and Nigerians at large, especially the women who have continuously written to me that they have derived courage in my actions so far. Now, the fact that I've been denied entrance is a statement being made. Our narratives are being shaped, history is being formed and shaped, and policies, again, all of this work together through intentional actions like we have done today. It's on record that the National Assembly under Akpabio has decided to be in contempt of the court's decisions. And it's quite ironic because they are actually lawmakers. So that puts to question how far democracy in this day and age. So, however, if we decide to turn our backs and go home, we are not ignorant of the fact that the National Assembly is most likely going to go into recess tomorrow for 2 months, and they will resume pretty much in the last week of September. And like you rightly said, that means they would have pretty much served the earlier 6 months suspension. I'm saying that because as at now, I'm no more suspended. And there's something very important I would like to say. Even the suspension ab initio was fraudulent because the document that recommended my suspension was not attested to by senators, the members of the committee. It was just an attendance sheet that was photocopied as their signatures. And if we are to go through that, that means ab initio from the onset, the suspension is wrong because the documents, the recommendation itself was faulty. So that's having mentioned that. Going forward, I'm going to have a meeting with my legal team, and then most likely they will have to probably proceed to the appellate court to seek interpretations of what has just happened. Abiding citizens, everyone here who has accompanied me, you can see no one is unruly, even though some have vehemently decided to express their dissatisfaction with the system. I am a law-abiding citizen, and it is very important I do mention, and Nigerians should know that even though we do have 2 federal government criminal cases against me, they are on criminal defamation, simply because I spoke up the threat to life. And everybody has a right to speak up on their threat to life. And Nigerians should know that I am not facing charges of corruption, I'm not facing charges of embezzlement, I'm not facing charges of drug abuse, and neither am I facing charges of murder. And it's ironic that the people who are actually testifying as witnesses in the 2 federal government cases have cases at EFCC, have files at EFCC on record that they have actually embezzled state funds running into billions. So it's really, let me say this, it's very important I do mention the flip of our judicial system, the flip of how institutions being utilized to oppress people who are innocent. If this is a country that if Nigeria works, if our institutions are truly independent and strengthened, then there's no reason why some of these fellows who sit there as senators should even be in the Senate in the first place. They should actually be behind bars, and I'm saying that. And I do pray and hope that it is by my actions today and by voices of Nigerians all around, whether in the country or in diaspora, that we speak up and ensure that this injustice that is being meted against me, this persecution meted against me will not stand, so that their daughters will not suffer, so that their wives will not suffer simply because they spoke up against sexual harassment. And I'm sorry I have to mention this, because you see, people have wondered, Natasha, how come there's so much hate? How come you were suspended for 6 months? Just the day after you tendered your petition on sexual harassment, you were suspended. And then there was the fraudulent recall. We all saw how we survived a recall. And then there's been a whole lot of attacks against me, which by the grace of God I've survived. And whenever people ask me, Natasha, why is there so much hate from the Senate President against you? Why is that institutions have turned against you, even though, by and large, you are pretty much one of the fairest senators or politicians in Nigeria? And I tell them, this is just an iceberg of what I have had to suffer and endure in the Senate under Akpabio's leadership for the last 1 year. Many of you thought that my speech on that floor, when I told him I was not afraid of him, and I did mention, I said, if you make me speak to the media on what I have had to endure in your hands, it will go pretty. And that's to let Nigerians know that that outburst I had on the floor was just a compilation of so many wrongs that Akpabio has meted against me. And I will say this, pretty much it's a shame that we have had so many good Senate presidents. We've had Chuba Akpadibo of blessed memory. We've had Senator David Mark. We've had Bukola Saraki. We've even had Ahmed Lawal, who is a senator right now. And I'd say this pretty much is the worst assembly Nigeria has ever had. And I hope we will not have to suffer this anymore, because it tells a lot on the individual. And I've said this before and I'm saying it again. The Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, as if it's the third-term governor of Akwa Ibom. Many senators are afraid. You've all seen what happened. You are not allowed to speak. When you try to speak or air your views on certain issues that are critical, you get shut down if it does not conform with what he wants. So far, I've not been given any official reason. I've only read on the papers yesterday that I should not resume today because the Senate has appealed. And that is why I presented to you that the Senate has not appealed the judgment. It is Akpabio himself. He is abusing power by willing the entire institutions to fight me. It's a personal vendetta that Akpabio is unleashing. Because you can't have his own senatorial district deprive the Kogi Central of representation. There is just no reason why these gates should not be open. But by and large, considering the fact that the Senate is vacating tomorrow, whenever they deem it fit to resume, we would resume as well. So what matters most is all the pressures and all the calls of me apologizing for no wrong that I did. I have refused to do that. So if it means staying the entire 6 months for an unjust suspension, which I'm saying, repeating again, has been quashed by the courts, so be it. I have pretty much been busy with my constituents on the brighter side. You've all seen, we've been carrying out a lot of projects in the past few months. And that is true to my nature, because I am a technocrat. I'm a lawyer. I'm an oil and gas expert. My formative year in my career were in the oil and gas industry. So I got into politics because I wanted to create a different mark for other people like me who wants to venture into politics. I also got into politics because I want to intentionally raise the standard of leadership. It's enough for us in Africa to sit down and admire leaders or politicians from other smaller African countries, not talk of the European world and the other Western world. So I hope that with this journey so far, however it goes, people should muster strength from me, and I hope that 2027 we will have more courageous, younger, educated, intentional leaders that will be elected into office, so that together we can change the narrative of Nigeria. And thank you so much for your love and support, Nigerians. I see you, I feel you. God bless.
Thank you so much.
Where's everybody? I think we should just...
You can't summarize what you said in 1 minute.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Just my card here.
Okay. I'm going to put this out. See, go meet them there. Give me the umbrella.
Okay, the Senator Natasha Makes just finished speaking to us right at the main gate, the glass gate of the National Assembly, explaining that, well, she knows she cannot go past this point, but she has made her point that she was here to enforce a court judgment that was given to her by a federal high court asking her to be recalled today. But unfortunately, she has gone through a lot of, hurdles, scaling the first main gate and then passing another barricade before getting to this point. She says she will go back and talk to her lawyers and see what exactly they can do with what has just happened today for the proper interpretation of what has happened today, knowing that the National Assembly, the Senate in particular, will be embarking on their 2 months annual recess tomorrow. That is exactly the reason why she needed to be here today, to see if she could enforce, that judgment that was given, though the judgment is still being argued by the Senate to say that it was just a mere recommendation. And Senator Natasha told us here today that it is not just an ordinary recommendation, and besides that, the court normally sometimes do pass its judgment through recommendations that will be better understood and be able to be explained better by those who are in the legal profession. But today, Senator Natasha has appeared, has stormed the National Assembly, and true to her words, in the last few days, she has been able to saturate the media with that information that she was going to be here by all means necessary, and she had defied the reins to be here. She walked all the way down after our convoy was stopped by the security, and trekked down almost 1 kilometer to this particular spot. So she had just finished talking to us, and she's saying that she's going to go back to the drawing boards, see whether or not whatever it is that she can get. But meanwhile, I have with me here human rights activist.
A very angry Nigerian.
Tell us, how has it been today?
Well, it's actually been crazy that we are coming to the National Assembly that is supposed to be the home of the people, and they're stopping a serving senator from going in after the court has said she can. And we have a situation whereby the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, has appealed a case, not the Senate. This is a matter between Natasha and the Senate. And what we have is Akpabio taking on the powers of the Senate, because before him to appeal, he needs to have a resolution within the Senate, and he hasn't done that. That is breaking the law in everything. We're here, the gates have been closed. We have to walk all the way in. They refuse to allow our cars in. They refuse to allow a senator that was voted in by the people into the office. Who does that? And we have the Nigerian police, as shameless as ever. They are being a willing tool of oppression. Yesterday we saw them, some of their colleagues who have retired, some of them barely 2 years ago, protesting because of the wages they are getting, the pension they are getting is not enough for them. And you have today, they are being brought in to support the injustice that is happening in Nigeria.
I thought the Senate also passed some message across to say that she shouldn't come now. She should follow due process.
What is the due process? Akpabio is the due process? There's no due process. At what time did they sit and come to that resolution? At what time was there an appeal? That is why Senator Akpabio did the appeal and put the Senate as responded, and also Natasha. Who does that? You see the Senate. It's not the Senate. They are all first among equals. So what is going on in Nigeria? This should concern every one of us. This injustice, like Senator Natasha said, cannot be sustained. And we cannot continue to have all of this, going on. This is rascality at its highest order. The people who in 2014 scaled this wall are the people now stopping the wall, closing the wall and not allowing anybody to pass through that fence. What does that say about our country? We are degenerating. We are losing our country. There is capture everywhere, legislative capture, state capture, judiciary has been captured. And why does the judiciary even allow itself to be used in the manner that it's always been used?
Thank you so very much. Thank you very much. Thank you so very much. So that is how it has been right here today. Natasha has stormed the National Assembly, and she has said she would go back to the drawing board and see what our lawyers will be able to pull out of this. That's the story, and that's what has happened here today from the National Assembly. I am Omo Bazwai, Arise News.
Thank you so much, Bazwai, for your time here on Newsday. You're watching Newsday. We've got plenty more still ahead. Stay with us.